Shortly after the release of The Legend of Zelda: A Link to the Past and Four Swords, the Zelda series made its debut for the Nintendo GameCube. The Legend of Zelda: The Wind Waker was released in Japan in 2002 and internationally in 2003. When it was announced, it was one of the most polarizing games in the series, but despite its initial reception, its popularity has grown over time. It was also my first Zelda game, so without further ado, let's revisit The Legend of Zelda: The Wind Waker. The Wind Waker is set hundreds of years after Ocarina of Time. The Hero of Time disappeared, so Hyrule was flooded by the gods to stop Ganon after he escaped from the Sacred Realm. On Outset Island in the Great Sea, Link and his sister Aryll spot a fearsome bird named the Helmrock King. It drops Tetra, the leader of a band of pirates, into a nearby forest, so Link sets out to help her. The bird returns, but kidnaps Aryll by mistake, so the pirates reluctantly agree to take Link to its lair. After finding Aryll, he's ambushed by the Helmrock King and thrown into the Great Sea at the command of its master, Ganondorf. Link is rescued by a talking boat named the King of Red Lions, who guides him on his quest to save Aryll and stop Ganondorf. After completing a test of courage, Link obtains the Master Sword in the sunken remains of Hyrule Castle. Even though he rescues Aryll with the help of the pirates and defeats the Helmrock King, the Master Sword is too weak to stop Ganondorf, so Link and Tetra are forced to escape. The King of Red Lions takes them to Hyrule Castle, where he reveals that he's the King of Hyrule and that Tetra is Princess Zelda. He also tasks Link with restoring the Master Sword's power and reassembling the Triforce of Courage. Even though its art direction was very divisive originally, the Wind Waker's visual design is impressive. The cel-shaded graphics and expressive animations give the characters and environments a stylized look that has aged incredibly well. The sound design is also superb, with robust sound effects that heighten the expressive visuals, and a fantastic soundtrack that's still one of my favorites in the series. Regarding its gameplay, The Wind Waker is similar to its predecessors, but its world design is very unique. The Great Sea is divided into a 7x7 grid that is traversable by sailing, and each quadrant contains one major island. There are towns, important equipment, and dungeons on specific islands, but the remaining islands have optional upgrades or rewards. There are 6 major dungeons, along with several smaller caverns with required items or upgrades. Outside of some unique gameplay mechanics, such as controlling multiple characters to navigate obstacles, a lot of the dungeons are a bit basic. The game's difficulty is relatively low in comparison to the previous games, with mostly straightforward level layouts and puzzles. Many items return from the previous games, but the new additions are unique and utilized well. The Wind Waker is mainly used to change the direction of the wind while sailing, but it can also change the time of day, open specific barriers, and warp Link to set locations. Other additions include the grappling hook that's used to swing across gaps and recover sunken treasure, and the Deku Leaf that's used to glide through the air or stun enemies with a gust of wind. There are also 3 types of bags that are used to carry different items, including spoils from monsters, deliveries for quests, and bait for interacting with specific fish or animals. Along with the Picto Box from Majora's Mask, there's also a deluxe Picto Box that can take color photos. Pictures can be used to complete side quests and unlock optional figurines in a special gallery. Another unique item is the Tingle Tuner, which allows a Game Boy Advance to be connected to access special effects, including temporary invincibility and bombs that uncover optional Tingle statues within specific dungeons. In addition to returning collectibles, like pieces of heart and rupees, there are also several types of sea charts. Treasure charts are used to find sunken treasure in specific quadrants, special charts reveal different points of interest throughout the Great Sea, and Triforce charts show the locations of the Triforce shards. Unlike treasure charts, the Triforce charts must be deciphered by Tingle before they can be read. After finishing the game, an additional quest is unlocked. Some of the changes include different outfits for Link and Aryll, translated Hylian dialogue, and altered placements for sunken treasures. The deluxe Picto Box is also unlocked by default, and Nintendo Gallery figurines are retained from the original playthrough. For the most part, the controls are similar to the Nintendo 64 games. Outside of a few new abilities, like crawling with the R button and parrying enemy attacks with the A button, most of the changes are because of the GameCube controller's button layout. Items can be equipped to the X, Y, and Z buttons, and Z targeting is now tied to the L button. There's also full camera control using the C stick. Even though I have a lot of nostalgia for the Wind Waker, it's far from perfect. With a small number of dungeons and required areas, there's an emphasis on exploring optional areas throughout the Great Sea, but the slow sailing speed and the sparse islands results in an overworld that can be tedious to traverse. The game's pacing is also disrupted by the search for the Triforce shards near the end of the adventure. In 2013, The Wind Waker was remastered for the Wii U. The Legend of Zelda: The Wind Waker HD features many changes to the presentation, including widescreen support, better textures, reworked lighting, and updated music. There are also many quality-of-life improvements and changes to the gameplay, like faster text and shorter animations. 5 Triforce charts have also been replaced with their corresponding Triforce shards, but the remaining 3 Triforce charts still need to be deciphered by Tingle. Hero mode has also been added, and can be toggled at any time from the file selection screen. In this mode, Link takes twice as much damage, and there are no recovery hearts. There are also several new items, such as the Swift Sail, which greatly increases the sailing speed and automatically changes the wind direction while sailing. The Tingle Tuner has been replaced with an item called the Tingle Bottle, which was used to share messages and Pictobox images to Miiverse, before the service was shut down in 2017. The Pictobox can also hold more photos at one time, and can even be used to take selfies of Link. Pictures that can be turned into figurines are also given a special icon, and multiple figurines can be developed at the same time. There are also several changes to the controls, including shortcuts to specific items using the D-pad. Other improvements include the ability to change directions on a rope while swinging, and the ability to move while aiming with items like the boomerang. Additional features are also available when using a Wii U gamepad, such as optional gyroscopic aiming, and access to the menus on the touchscreen without having to pause the game. For the most part, I think The Wind Waker HD is the definitive version of my favorite Zelda game. Aside from the reworked lighting in specific scenes, and occasional frame rate issues, I generally prefer the remastered graphics. The numerous changes to the gameplay and controls also help to streamline the overall experience and alleviate some of the original's pacing issues. Overall, The Legend of Zelda: The Wind Waker is still one of my favorite games of all time. When I first played it, I was immediately invested in its characters, story, and visual design, and because it was the first Zelda game I played, I also didn't mind the relatively low difficulty or the straightforward level design. Despite its flaws, I still think The Wind Waker is an incredibly charming and engaging adventure that I appreciate even more as my first experience with one of my favorite franchises. On that note, thank you for watching, and next time I'll be taking a look at another cooperative entry, The Legend of Zelda: Four Swords Adventure.